Employee benefits have traditionally been siloed into the different areas of operation. For example, retirement benefits used to be on their own, medical aid on their own, personal financial planning, wealth planning on its own. And there's a big trend to consolidate these, and there's also organizations that have the ability to make use of those different data sets and start combining them to the benefit of both the member and in terms of the overall management process. I've got Yasheen Modi here from Discovery. He's the Deputy Head of Research and Development at Discovery Employee Benefits, just to talk to us about these different aspects and how this combination of data can actually become so beneficial. Yasheen, good afternoon.
Afternoon, Chris. Thanks very much for having me.
Perfect. So tell us a little bit more about this data combination and the effects thereof.
So if I could just share my screen. So here we have a simple Venn diagram of the different companies within Discovery. Health has been around for over 30 years, group risk and life just over 20 years, and retirement funds, the baby of the group, just over 4 years. And what this diagram shows is the overlap between the different companies in membership. How does that help us? Well, those are the reasons on the left. These members are part of our integrated data set. And what they allow us to do is form greater employee insights. For example, if we have health data on group risk members, can we pick up trends? The likes of increasing mental health claims in a specific group. And what can we then do with those trends? Can we unlock certain benefits that address those trends? So to add to that example, can we put in place mental health awareness campaigns or offer bespoke benefits within that employer group? The second advantage is greater digital engagement, just by virtue of all of these benefits being on the same app. Your retirement fund benefits are one scroll away from your health benefits. Traditionally, members of retirement funds view their balances at a rate of about 10%. And what we've seen is members on health and retirement funds on both those products view their balances at a rate of about 50%. So 5 times higher engagement in retirement funding.
Wow.
And lastly, by virtue of having all of these profit signatures within one holdings company, we start to see less volatility in profit, and we can pass some of that back in the form of more efficient pricing to those groups.
Very interesting. What I like is the sort of 50% higher engagement and looking at the sort of retirement stuff, because I think normally that's fairly low, when people engage with just the retirement things on their own. All right, so there's many ways of looking at data. So, how do you guys analyze all this data? How do you bring this all together?
So this next slide shows the evolution of techniques we've used at our annual actuarial conference, starting with generalized linear models back in 2007, progressing through random forests and neural networks, which are better techniques for independent categorical variables, and lastly, causal inference, which has been an exciting development within the Discovery group. Why causal inference? It's essentially the discussion between, or the debate between correlation and causation. Correlation is sufficient when you just want to quantify a certain outcome variable like mortality rates. You lump all the predictive variables in one and you get a final value. Causal inference becomes more important when you want to predict a change in that outcome variable given a change in any of the other variables. For example, if our members start to exercise more, what will be the impact on their mortality? But then again, doesn't exercise impact your BMI? And is the true link between mortality and exercise actually being confounded by your ultimate BMI? So your exercise leads to a reduction in BMI, and that results in a reduction in mortality. How exactly do we quantify that? And once we quantify that, we can associate specific rewards with, for example, losing weight.
So is there a correlation between sort of health and productivity? I mean, what are those sort of links? Can you maybe expand a little bit on that?
So our team in the UK studied exactly that. On the left-hand side of this slide, we have the correlation between the vitality age gap of employees and productivity days lost. And as you can see, as your difference increases between your actual age and your vitality or health-based age, your productivity days lost increases. And on the right-hand side of the slide, you can see the causal inference being improved. So if you endeavor to improve your health, your presenteeism, which is a measure of how much time you spend at work not present, i.e. not as productive as you could be, that decreases. So for example, as you get your weight in range, as you start exercising, you spend less time at work not present. The next slide shows that impact of health on collaboration and performance. So what the chart on the left shows is how much time do staff and team leaders separately to managers and higher spend collaborating with their teammates. The reason why we distinguish between those two is because one might think as you become more senior, you might naturally start to spend more time in meetings and sending messages on Teams. So that's possibly a confounding variable. So having separated it out, you can see that even within those subgroups, as you get healthier and move up along the vitality status spectrum, you tend to spend more time collaborating with your colleagues. And on the right, what impact does that have? So ultimately, as you move up vitality statuses, employees tended to start earning higher performance bonuses.
Okay, well, that's interesting. But that would also, I would imagine, mean that those employees are earning more than the healthy ones, earning more than their unhealthy counterparts. Am I right?
So that's a great question. The natural next question. The next slide endeavors to prove distinctly, is salary correlated to health status versus is there a causal link? So, and the reason why it becomes important is the correlation is quite clear, but the key confounding variable here potentially is the starting salary, because someone earning more might be in a better position to purchase a wellness program like Vitality. And that might mean that as your salary increases, there naturally ends up being a higher proportion of those people on higher statuses. What we did on the right here is we said, we're not going to accept the correlation, we want to prove causation. So we standardized the population and said everyone within different salary bands starts on blue. And we had the data to start with that experiment. And we monitored those people over time, over a period of 3 years. We said, members who became engaged and moved from blue status to diamond status, did they end up having a higher real salary increase annualized over that period than members who remained unengaged? And this chart essentially shows that result. So the members who remained unengaged had an average real salary increase of 1.04% over inflation. But the members who became healthy, started to engage, eat healthy, exercise, had an average annualized salary increase of 3.13%. So 3.13% over inflation. So this essentially proves that whatever your starting point in terms of salary, and if you are unhealthy currently, if you become healthy, the data is suggesting that you might end up earning more than members and your counterparts that choose to remain unhealthy.
So let me ask you another question. So obviously increased longevity is good, but then the downside is, you need to fund for longer in retirement. How do these two play off against one another?
So definitely as you become healthier, you will live for longer. But I think what's often forgotten is what proportion of your life are you actually going to spend healthy? So life expectancy is your longevity. What I've highlighted here in this example in green is your health expectancy. So you are, and that's 70 in this example. Your life expectancy is 80. Health expectancy quantifies the number of years you are going to spend healthy. So years spent in poor health for the last 10 years of your life. Now, if we carry on with this example from a retirement perspective, let's say he needs 2.6 million given his current projection towards retirement. And there, we're currently sitting at about 10 years in poor health, so 66% of his retirement in poor health, assuming he retires at age 65. Projecting his future healthcare costs, given he's unhealthy, more accurately, which is what we can do, he needs about 4 million. If he improves his health, yes, he does live for longer, so he needs about 4.6 million. But there you can see he's now spending only 5 years of his retirement in poor health, and he's living for longer. So the proportion of retirement that he spends in good health has increased from, while his proportion of years that he spends in poor health has decreased from 66% to 20%. So now his deficit is 2 million, comparing the 4.6 million to 2.6 million. But what his improved health has done is it has unlocked levers that he can pull to close that gap. So what are those levers? For one, he's spending less out of pocket on healthcare. He can invest those in his retirement fund savings. The second is some research that suggests that people who tend to make good decisions in terms of their health start to make better decisions overall. So that concept of foregoing instant gratification, if you're doing that in the health space, you are more likely to do it in the wealth space. The third, like we proved earlier, via correlation and causation, he could end up earning more, adding to his retirement pot. And the last is quite important. He could end up working for longer. Research suggests that healthier people have better memory and visuospatial attention, which means that they have the cognitive ability to delay their retirement and find other sources of income. And that's particularly important in this dynamic where, given increasing life expectancy, we tend to spend, or we are spending more of our lives in retirement. Think about it, 50 years ago, we worked until a certain age and we only spent a small portion of our lives in retirement. That portion has increased over time given the increase in longevity. So that ability to work for longer is becoming more important. And one of the most important things to enable that is good health. So if we go back to our example, this just illustrates how that 2 million shortfall can be closed by each of those levers, just illustrating the importance of good health in overall retirement planning.
Yasheen, I find this fascinating, and what I like particularly is that, in a normal run-of-the-mill financial planning process, it's a very narrow view. And what I like about the way you guys go about this is that you broaden that dimension. You include so many more data points and aspects, from the healthcare side and so on and so forth, that makes your planning process or your view of that individual just so much more informed and so much more precise at the end of the day. And that for me is crucial because it sort of veers away from the kind of averages into a more focused kind of approach. And that stands out for me.
That's exactly I think that perfectly summarizes what we're trying to achieve.
Excellent. Yasheen, thanks for your time. It's been really insightful, and I look forward to chatting to you guys some more in the future. Well done.
Thanks a lot, Chris.
Thank you.